What do you think about Vegas?
Oh, we're really excited. Obviously we had a great late season surge for our football team. To won the 4 consecutive games, and you never know when you lose your last one and the kind of taste it can leave in the bowl games' mouths of who's choosing and when and where and how. And so we're hopeful all along we could get into that game, and we're fortunate that we did. It's a great bowl game. It's a tremendous matchup with Boise State. Goes without saying, I think in the last 10 years, I think they're 122-11 is their record. So we know what they've done the last decade and the types of teams and players that they've had, and have a great deal of respect for Coach Peterson. So we're pumped. We can't wait. We can start the game planning process now. But we're excited about the opportunity to go represent the Pac-12 and a really cool bowl game.
When you're the 5th selection in the Pac-12, maybe you don't expect such an opponent, but is this now another opportunity for the program nationally?
It's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. Boise is, they've done it for such an extended period of time. They've been doing this for year after year after year, and so for our guys, this is just another opportunity to go play a great football team that's really well coached on a national stage, and that's why we. These guys chose to come to the University of Washington to play in these types of games. I think it's a really good matchup for both teams and sets the stage for somewhat of an intriguing offseason for 9 months before the rematch here at Husky Stadium. So I think it's pretty cool.
Does the date on that game give you any? Is it set up nicely for recruiting, holidays, or does it really even matter?
I think
for
what
you
it
guys?
does for our guys, we're a young team, and this has been kind of a long season. We never had a really natural bye in this season. We had a couple long weeks here and there because of Thursday games. And so what it does for us playing the 22nd is after that game, our guys are going to have a full 2 weeks to go home, be with their families, and relax. And I think the players need it. I think the coaches will need it at that point with the dead periods in recruiting and whatnot, and then come back. School starting in winter, January 7th. So it gives our guys a real good 2 weeks after it's been a good grind for them. And so I think the date shapes up well.
You did not quite the same scenario, but you played Nebraska basically because of the bowl game 3 times in the span of about a year. Did playing a team that many times kind of like that change the dynamic in any of the games?
I don't. If anything, it's the familiarity, obviously scheme-wise, and then the familiarity of the players. They get to know one another. I think it becomes a healthy competition and mini rivalry of sorts, and so I think that's what makes this unique. Somebody's going to win December 22nd, and somebody's for 9 months is going to be wanting that rematch to try to prove that they're worthy of beating the other team, and the other team's got 9 months to show that that wasn't a fluke. We can do it again. I think that for both schools it serves as great motivation.
You look upon, after the season's results, look upon the Stanford game with any renewed appreciation given what they've done?
No, I do. I mentioned this to the team. At the end of the day, Stanford had one conference loss, and that was to us. A hard-fought ball game where both teams played extremely hard, physical, and there are other losses to the team that's number 1 in the country and playing for the national championship that came down to about an inch and arguably maybe a bad call. So I think what it tells us and shows us and for our players is what we're capable of. That's the Pac-12 champion, and we were the one team that say we can beat them in our conference. And so that's what we're capable of. The thing that you can also point to in looking at Stanford is the consistency in which they play week in and week out. Home, road, doesn't matter. And that for us has got to be something we continue to strive for, is that consistency week in and week out of playing the game to the standard of which we set. And if we're capable enough of beating Stanford in that setting here at CenturyLink, that same level and standard of play in all 3 phases is what we're going to be held to week in and week out, and that's what we have to strive for.
As you start to put this game plan together, does Justin help in that process, or is he too far removed from being there?
Well, I won't know yet until we get into it, quite honestly. I don't think Boise in the last 5, 6, 7 years has changed dramatically in any area. That we've seen them a few times here and there on film. They're going to do what they do. Everybody's always going to have new wrinkles and new things that they do. Obviously, Boise will have a few trick plays up their sleeve that they have every week, and so that won't be any different. So I'll be able to answer that better probably when we get a chance to really spend some quality time looking at the film and see what that's all about.
They're probably a much better defensive team, though, than people might think. I mean,
They're excellent.
Is there just an initial thought on what they do?
Just
on that
the
side,
just
or?
the couple shots of film I've looked at here is that the secondary is very good. The corner play is tremendous. They're a physical group up front. They've got a nice pass rusher coming off the edge. I think it's Lawrence is his last name, DeMarcus Lawrence. He's got about 10 sacks on the year. So they do a good job defending the run. And then they're very sticky in coverage, and by being so, it disrupts the timing and then allows them to get pressure. So they're a good defensive football team, and they create a bunch of turnovers. They're excellent at creating turnovers.
The fact that Austin's kind of been dragging a leg with him the last half, how much more could he do beyond what he's already done?
Austin's done great. He's really fought through this thing. This time for him is as good as any. Obviously we limited our vets quite a bit this weekend. And so for him to rehab and to get that ankle as close to 100% as we can, I think is much needed. So another week right here until we get back on the field Friday is going to be good for him Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from a rehab standpoint.
Is it possible he could be a 75, 80 catch guy just the way if he was healthy?
I don't know. How many do you have this year? 63. So I'm hoping maybe he can catch 7 in the bowl game and get us to 70. That's probably bodes well for us. But without a doubt, Austin's an extremely talented young man. He's very bright. He's got a high football IQ, and so he allows us to move him and put him in a lot of different spots on the field and not be so one-dimensional where he's just playing the tight end spot. And so we can create matchups with him, and his willingness to do that and to accept that and then excel in those different spots on the field is what makes him dangerous. And it's a nice combination to have.
Hey, Sark, as you kind of reacquaint yourself with these early bowl practices with the redshirt guys and some of that, are there some of these guys that are standing out that you're really excited for next year?
Yeah, the last couple of days have been good, and today was a nice hard fought one. I thought Samu Chang had a nice couple scrimmages here, obviously capped it off with a touchdown right there. I thought the two redshirt freshman quarterbacks showed some stuff in Lindquist and Miles. We're looking at Brandon Beaverson at safety right now, so he's been intriguing at the safety spot with his ability to cover and make some of those plays. Obviously, we saw the long run by Dwayne Washington here today for the touchdown. He's got some work to do fundamentally, but you like what you see from a physical stature standpoint. And so that's just to name a few. It's a lot easier when I can look at the film and put all 3 practices together. And then as we move into next week, we're going to have another 3 practices that'll be more split in half, where we're going to focus on our vets for about half of it and focus on our younger players for about half of it. But these first 3 were really dedicated to our young players, and I like the way they competed.
And with one of the guys that did play all year, Shaq Thompson, were you even more impressed than maybe you would have thought, considering how well he played the whole
I thought
season?
Shaq had an awesome year. I thought he got better and better as the year went on. His playmaking ability is, I think, contagious. I think he had a big reason why we started to create the turnovers that we were, whether it was forcing fumbles, tipping balls, catching interceptions. I thought Travis Feeney started to feed off of what Shaq was doing and creating turnovers, then John Timu. So it's an athletic group, but couldn't be more impressed with what Shaq did for us. Quite honestly, I was a little surprised he wasn't defensive freshman of the year in our conference, but there's good players in our conference, but he had that caliber of a season for us.
Have you had a chance to talk to Austin about basketball and just your feelings on?
We haven't got there yet. We got a few more weeks to go before we cross that bridge.
Is moving Dwayne a depth thing at that spot, or just it fits him?
I think it fits him. His stature. He's a big, thick kid. He's a physical runner. When you looked at him in high school at the tape, a lot of his best plays came when he just had the ball in his hands, not so much running down the field, but when he had the ball in his hands on the short intermediate stuff, running through tackles. So we're hopeful, we get a 225-pound physical tailback out of this thing. And it's been a nice transition for him. It's been great that we've been able to redshirt him. These practices are really, really good for him and just getting those carries. And then obviously spring ball is going to be huge for him.
In his Beaver, you moved some guys from safety this year. So you
Yeah.
need some depth there? Or
Yeah,
is that
and we're trying to look at the safety spot. We've talked about our ability to defend the spread teams. And I think one of the keys to that is your safeties, their ability to cover wide receivers in the slot. So when you can get a corner like Beaver who can potentially play safety, is physical enough to tackle, has the football IQ to be able to play the zone coverage stuff, but then the physical ability to cover slot receivers one-on-one is something we're trying to move a little bit more towards. And so this is going to be the project for us with Brandon throughout these bowl practices, and then reassess it when we get ready for spring ball.
Given how a win over Boise in a bowl speaks for itself in terms of value, is there an additional value in getting over the Apple Cup and regaining the cred that you had with the 4-game winning streak?
Yeah, I think so. I think we still believe we're a good football team. That part, we didn't play a great game. We especially didn't play a very good fourth quarter when you blow an 18-point lead. But we believe we're a good football team. It'd be awesome for our seniors to continue the path that they've been on with this program from the day they've gotten here, to continually improve. And so that 8th win is a big one for us. It's something that I think we all want deeply. And to do that, we have to defeat a very good Boise State team, and it's going to be a great challenge.